We are back with the Act Natural podcast today. We are talking about weddings.
Yes.
I'm so excited to talk about this because we have shot over 170 plus weddings now. We've had a wedding company for 10 years. Courtney has been shooting weddings with me ever since I have known her. I got her into shooting weddings. We have been in this industry for a very long time. We have met a lot of vendors along the way. We have dealt with and had a pleasure of working with a numerous amount of brides. We have loved it so much that we have started a Black Wedding Journal, the Black Wedding Journal. That is a bride's practical guide to planning a stress-free wedding. And today, we are here to talk about one of the articles that we have written, which is what, Courtney Grace Sellers?
Why you should have a first look.
Why you should have a first look. We want to talk about the advantages of that in our experience working with brides. And here we go. What's our first point on why someone should have a first look?
So first we need to know what is a first look, which is a time before the actual ceremony that the bride and the groom get to see each other for the very first time.
Magical moment.
It's a magical moment.
Private moment. No one's there except for us and them.
Right. And it's a time where, they're all like ready for the day. They're ready for their ceremony. They haven't seen each other all day. And this is the first time that they see each other in their wedding selves. And it's just a really great time. So we let them kind of see each other for a minute, kiss, whatever. And then we go into a portrait session so that we can kind of capture those emotions.
Yeah.
And what we like to do as photographers is just kind of take them down to maybe like a nature-y spot that we find.
I think it's really important because having that moment in the middle of, let's be honest, there's a lot of chaos that happens during a wedding. The timelines that happen and trying to like get all this stuff together. It's important, I feel like, to have a moment to yourselves to slow down from all the stress of that day, to remind yourself of, this is the biggest moment of your life and you're getting married on this day and this is the person who you're getting married to, and having that time away just to being with yourselves and really getting a lot more content. Like you're getting a portrait session. And sometimes like the wedding will get knocked behind schedule, and this ensures you having that really important portrait session by yourself in that moment. And I don't think that it takes away from when someone first walks down the aisle.
Right, and we'll talk more about that point later, but definitely it's that private time with your man before all the chaos hits.
Yeah. And
it's that time to just have a one-on-one time, and a lot of the time we'll let you have that one-on-one time from afar, and then we'll kind of come up and get into those pictures. But I like what you were saying about guaranteeing those good pictures. I love that photography has really started to be more of a part of the wedding day.
Yeah, it's a candid, like you're there capturing. Obviously, there's planned shots, but I really have started to enjoy this more photojournalistic, at least in our style, photojournalistic way of capturing the day for so long. And we've observed, because we have three crews that we can send out. We offer like film packages and photography packages. And in the times that we've been the film crew is very much from afar capturing the day. And we've observed a lot of photographers who will just like stand in the middle of the wedding in a way, like here I am, I'm going to capture everything around me instead of working
with the day.
Yeah, in a fluid way of capturing it inside of a storytelling way.
I just love that people want more of these images. I can look back at my parents' wedding day, and they didn't even have a portrait session. It was just the kiss, and then the family picture of everyone. I think a lot of people can relate to this up at the top of the church,
or the arbor, just like stacked so perfectly,
even have an arbor,
just standing still, and then click, done.
Right, and that was that. And then there's a couple of pictures from the reception. There's a couple of cute pictures that were posed with like my grandpa, like holding out the insides of his pockets, like I don't have any more money.
That's a classic one.
Which is really, really cute. But they didn't back then. It just wasn't the style to take the couple and go on and have like your own private portrait photo session. And so I love that has become kind of a trend now. I think that people realize the value of it and that it can even be offered now. I just don't think that those services were offered before.
Well, weddings have morphed. Like weddings are, I mean, the wedding industry is a huge deal nowadays. And it seems like it's become so much more of a stylized something to do. How can you outdo another thing? And it's just become this huge deal of this massive party and massive amounts of other things going on and so many more elements going on. And I've always thought that it's easy to get caught up in all of that and not have that moment. Let's remember why we're getting married. Like, let's remember this day. And it's hard, like, planning a wedding from, 6 months out and lining up all your vendors. And it's very stressful, this whole process of planning a wedding. It can be.
I love it. But it can be stressful.
Well, I think that, our motivation for loving it has generated the Black Wedding Journal to create a stress-free guide in doing that. But if you think about all of these moments, all this movement up to this one day, and then you're in the day and everything's happening, it's very nice to have a set apart time and a moment with your beloved and then having those pictures. But I think beyond the pictures, it's that moment of saying, hey, you're the reason why all this is happening. And now you get to savor that. It's different from walking down the aisle and seeing each other for the first time. And that is great. And that's traditional. And there's a lot of value to that. And we work with a lot of weddings still that do that. But I think a major pro is to take a pause and say, hey, this is the reason why we're getting married today.
Let's get away from the crowd. Let's get away from everyone else. Look at me in the eyes and let's just have our time together, because today is going to be the beginning of the rest of our lives.
Yeah, and there's going to be a lot more stress that's going to happen after that moment. It's going to be a whirlwind, and the reality is a lot of people don't even really remember the details of their day, which is why I love film so much, because you can, my God, like you're capturing everything. People who get a highlight film, we do a 4 to 6 minute highlight film, and then we have a full length, which ends up being like an hour long, and we're there with like our crew, and we're just capturing every little part of the day. And I feel like that gives a lot of value when you look back and you can watch all those memories and relive that in a really, it's a visceral type of way with film that photography does great, but film is another level. I mean, you have audio, like you have music, like you're recreating those. You're recreating those memories.
Another great reason to have a first look is you get the tears out of the way before you actually walk down the aisle or have.
What about on our first look? Did you have a lot of tears? I can't remember. Were you crying?
Our first look, I was just more excited. Actually, I was so jittery.
You're just like bubbling.
I was like
just jumping around.
Hyped up. I was like, because I had a lot of caffeine that day already, and I was just like, so I think I was just like jittery and like ready for you to see my dress. I was really excited.
She had a really cute dress. It was, I don't want to, non-traditional. Like it was a white dress, but it was a shorter dress, and you had one of those things that made it look poofy along the outside. It was very Courtney. It was very you.
It was perfect for me.
Very, like,
I had
upbeat
tights on, and I had a little what is it? I don't know what those things are called. Petticoats underneath the dress to make it,
Yeah, like old school.
But it was above the knee, and it was just, it was like at the knee, above the knee.
Yeah, it's really cute.
It was probably at the knee.
Very Courtney.
That I called me. But anyway, I was just really excited about it. So I don't think I was teary, but I was like jittery, like, like, let's make this happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you are a crier, then at least you can get your makeup fixed before you see everyone else and before you
especially the groom. You get the groom's tears out of the way.
Get your tears done, and you'll probably cry again later. If you're a crier, you're probably going to cry.
Hey, and we're there to capture that.
Yeah, well, that's true too.
Or your photographer or your filmmaker, your vendor is there to capture that.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful. I mean, we just recently shot a wedding. It might have been a month ago. And we had like our 7200 lenses. We were really up close. And the groom, I mean, it was one of the most emotional weddings that we've ever shot.
You could see the tear fall from his face.
It was reflecting down where the sun flare. I was like, oh my God, this moment that they're going to have forever, this moment that we captured. And it would not have been available if it was during the ceremony. Like, I mean, capturing that first look in that time is very special. And you're able to capture more of those emotions because you're right there in that moment, not distracted. Not now when you walk down the aisle, I couldn't see anybody else.
Oh yeah.
It was like this haze came over me. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, like everything just faded
The
away.
music hit at just the right moment.
And then
it
you,
was
you just
perfect.
walk down the aisle. And so you're going to have these moments either way. I don't want to say that if you don't do a first look, you're not going to have these moments. Obviously,
It
you
creates
will.
another moment for you.
It is. And it does not take away from the moment of her walking down the aisle and you seeing her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you'll have time. Fix your makeup if you need to. Move on and get the rest of the day going without having tears like at the beginning of the ceremony and then all throughout the time. And no, you can't fix your makeup in the middle of the ceremony. So it kind of helps you out there with that.
There you go.
Another great reason why you should have a first look is because one of my most favorite reasons is that it creates more time at the reception.
Oh,
So,
big time.
Yeah, if you wait, which is fine, but if you wait to see the bride or the groom until you're walking down the aisle, then what's going to happen is you're going to proceed with the ceremony. After that's over, you might wait and greet and like say thanks to everyone, or you might have your photographer round you up and say, okay, now it's time for family pictures and then bridal party pictures. And then what is everyone else doing?
Well, think
at
about
that time?
like budgeting time. So in our formula,
Everyone else at that time is going to be at the reception and they're going to be waiting for you.
yeah.
And they're just going to be like, okay, well, where's the bride and groom at? Oh, they're getting their pictures done. I have been a part of a wedding before where that went on for 2 hours.
Well, like I was saying, like budgeting time, like we have a formula on our website on Black Wedding Journal that allocates based upon how big your bridal party is, how much time that takes to take those pictures. How big your family is, how much time it takes those pictures. Your portrait session, how much time it takes those pictures. So if you do have a first look, then you're able not only to have your moment and savor that, then you're able to knock out your portrait session, then you're able to knock out your bridal party, and sometimes, if the family is cooperative, and that's a big if, you can knock out all of your freaking family pictures. Boom, you have your ceremony. You're going to round up some of those aunts and uncles that are not there before. Like, boom, boom, boom. You're maybe 20 minutes into the party,
And
into
then
the
there
reception.
you go, into the reception.
Think about your guest. Now, it's about you, and it's about your day, and you should think about what works for you.
Whatever you and your fiance want.
Right. But structure-wise, timeline-wise, this is a very
This is one
well-oiled
of the main
machine.
reasons.
Yeah, it's the main reason to have your first look because you're eliminating that massive amount of wait time into your reception, you know? And really, if you budget a wedding properly, time-wise, there's no reason to not do this. We can work with a 6-hour, 8-hour full-day package, but a lot of the times, if we do a first look, we can either cut down on, save some money. Because if you have a full-day package, that's most of the time when the bride and groom does not want to do a first look. So if you're thinking about being more economical with your time and even like following a wedding budget, which is really important. Weddings are very expensive nowadays. You can do a first look. You can get all those pictures out of the way, captured, and cut down on your wedding timeline. Cut
Yeah.
down on your wedding cost. I mean, you're saving, sometimes thousands of dollars making small decisions like this that are not only savoring the moment, knocking out that timeline, but very economical in a big
That's a
way.
good point. That's a really good point. I just love that whenever I attend a wedding or if I'm shooting a wedding, I love to be able to see the guests come into the reception space, get settled with their drinks or their hors d'oeuvres or whatever it is, and then, they've got their food in front of them. Bam, here comes the bride and groom. They're ready. The announcement of the bridal party comes in, and then they move on to their first
They're the
date.
star of the show.
Yeah.
Like to separate the star of the show from the wedding procession. It's kind of awkward. I'll be honest, it's very awkward. And we've been to some weddings where we were guests. That does not happen very much. We're normally booked all the time, but we've been to some wedding where we're actually finally guests. And you can tell when they've had someone like a coordinator that knew what they were doing and a coordinator that didn't know what they were doing,
Oh, yeah.
and then the lack of a complete coordinator at all. Because the bride and groom are separated for so long, it creates this awkward space, this dead space, where they've eaten, they don't really want to dance because we're waiting on them to be announced, so we can't really do anything, right? The wedding cannot proceed without the star of the show being there. So why separate that from happening? And the best weddings have been the ones who have been able to really focus on that timeline and getting people into the reception before that happened.
That is such a good point. I love that point. Another reason why we should have a first look if you want to do that. No pressure.
Yeah.
But daylight savings. Okay, so think about this. If you're going to have a wedding in the winter,
We did.
we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had one in December. Then that
19th,
means
right?
that the sun is going to set a lot earlier in the day. Let's say 5 o'clock. And honestly, sometimes it happens before then.
Yeah.
Well, if you have a first look, then that means you can go ahead and get those family pictures and those bridal party pictures in the sunshine before the ceremony happens. A lot of the times, right at the ceremony, it's going to be a sunset wedding because
Yes.
it's wintertime. And if you have that first look, that allows you to go ahead and have that portrait session that we talked about while it's still daylight.
It's vital. Winter weddings. You
Winter wedding,
have to have a first look.
unless you're planning on having your ceremony at 12, which has happened before.
You've done those before.
That used to be really traditional. It's like a thing. Having your wedding at 12 or at 1 o'clock
Yeah.
was something that was an old tradition. But now a lot of people like to have their
What's about the party?
it's more about the party. I
It
really
is.
don't want to take away from the actual ceremony. We've had some really beautiful ceremonies where it really just seems like there's no one else in the room and it's the bride and groom together and like he's washing her feet or something. We've seen that a couple different times.
Yeah.
And they just pause, maybe someone's singing or they've got like music going and like they just stop and like pray together. And it is that. Like that is
The focal point.
the focal point of we are committing ourselves. And I don't want to take away by saying it's more about the party these days. I will say that people spend a whole lot more money.
There's been a switch, and it's not bad. I mean, it's great to get together and to celebrate and to have drinks and food and a venue that can accommodate that style. And we're not taking away from that. There has just been a shift in the wedding industry. There's been a shift in the culture of weddings, pulling out of more traditional churches, going into more of a barn venue or a mansion venue. There's a lot of great places in Memphis that we shoot, Memphis, Tennessee that we shoot. Ansdale Mansion. Whoa, great
Yeah,
venue.
gorgeous.
And a lot of people are having ceremonies that are later on during the day and bypassing a lot of the more traditional things to make more room for the party and for the drinks and for having that. And that's fine. Do you, man? That's awesome. Celebrate in the way that you want to.
I think especially if the couple has been saving for a long time or maybe it's just not in their nature to go out and spend a lot of money on themselves, then have a good wedding. Like this is the one time where you have an excuse to have a party for yourselves.
Yeah.
It's so funny because I've seen two different couples. I have this one friend who she got married in her backyard. They got a beautiful brand new house together. They're really excited. They had recently renovated it. It's like a historic home. And because it was such a special place, they wanted to have their ceremony and their reception at their house. Talk about saving money. Right?
Yeah.
They had like friends come and like almost like a potluck kind of thing. It was very homey,
Cool.
very warm. But that worked for that couple because guess what where they're at right now? Mexico. I mean, this isn't even a honeymoon. They're just traveling together because they're young, they're in love, and they're able with his job to do that. That's awesome. They said, we're not going to spend our money on our wedding. We're going to spend our money on our marriage. And they just go out and they do that kind of stuff for each other all the time.
Yeah.
I know another couple, and they're planning a wedding right now where they are budgeting people. If they have an extra dime, they are saving it.
Yeah.
And I've kind of told them, if you want, this might be a good excuse to spend a little bit on yourselves because they're not going to do that whenever they're married. They're going to stay in this habit of saving, which is, very responsible. But when you're going to look back at your life and say, well, when was that one time that I got to celebrate me? Or when was that time that I got to celebrate us?
Yeah.
And so the wedding is a perfect time for that and the reception. So I just try to tell people, think about you and your fiance. What type of couple are you?
Yeah.
Do you want to use this as an excuse to just blow some money and have a party and like make this memory stick? Or are you planning on other things in your future and you'd rather be more conservative?
And I don't think either one, I think you summed it up perfectly. It depends on what you guys decide, and it doesn't make it less, or it really doesn't even make it more what you decide. I mean, it is what you feel most comfortable with. You don't want to have any regret for your wedding day, and you don't have to Listen, our wedding, $6,000.
We spent
Is that-
$6,500 on our wedding, and that was budgeting.
Yeah,
I mean, we cut corners.
do you know what the average wedding cost that we're a part of that we shoot? I mean, you bare minimum $30,000.
Yes, easy.
30 grand.
Easy.
The last one that we shot, it was, I don't know, it was on this massive golf course. I mean, you're talking 50 grand, guys.
Yeah.
$50,000. So if you want to do that, great. If you have access to that, cool beans, man. If you want to, if you have family that's going to pay for it, that's great. That wedding, the big one, the $50,000 one, sometimes we've been upwards of even more, private museums and renting out great places, has no more value than one that's done on a budget. You have to give focus to the reason why you're getting married, the person you're getting married to. This is the whole theme of this whole little talk about, savoring the moment of who you're with and having that first look. That's why I'm such a big fan of this. I'm such a big fan. Not only does it give you more versatility with your wedding, more of a focus on your wedding, more of having, that moment with one another. Not only that, it can be more economical in that way.
It can be.
And if you really want those portrait and that a greater emphasis on storytelling inside of your story, give more time to that, budget more time for that. But yeah, I totally agree with that.
For sure. Okay, cool. We talked a little bit about making the memory stick. I just want to make a quick point on how there's so much happening during your day. So there's a whole lot going on in that day, and it really, really helps if you take the time for the first look, because that intentional time will help make your memory stick more.
Yeah.
One thing that I found is whenever people pause and have these first looks, a lot of the time they'll do a letter exchange or they'll do a gift exchange, and it's just another thing to help you imprint this memory on the whoosh of this day.
I like that.
Like I said before, I distinctly remember walking down the aisle. I had tunnel vision for you. Like I was playing
Robots
that
in
Justin
disguise.
Timberlake song in my head. 2020 experience. What's up? And the music was hitting perfectly, and it was just this magical moment. And I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember getting ready in the morning, curling my hair. I remember when my aunt and uncle came and gave me a pillow as a gift in the morning. I remember
getting new socks because I didn't like the socks that I had, so I went and bought some new ones.
Did you go to the store?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Because it was a stress thing.
Yeah, you had to just get
I don't like
some
those
socks.
little details. I got to go get this fixed real fast.
I remember sitting in the holding cell before the wedding, and I remember visiting with people at the ceremony, and I remember dancing with my dad.
Aw.
I remember these moments, if I really think about it, because I was make the memory stick, be intentional, make the memory
Be there.
stick.
Don't be distracted.
And there's a whole lot that is just a whoosh, and if I think more about it, it'd be yeah, I remember that. That was cool. That was really, really great. But this first look will help you just make it stick.
Making the memory stick is what this whole day is about. That's what a first look is designed for. It's not to be untraditional in the way of, I want more images, I want more pictures. It is saying we're going to designate this time for you, for us, to capture these memories. And that's what it's done every single time that we've ever had it. It's amazing for a videographer and for photographers to be there in that moment, and it really shows. Indirectly after that moment, you're able to go into a portrait session and doing that. But being present in that day is a lot harder than you might think, because there is a whoosh to everything.
And there's an agenda.
And there is an agenda for everything. And whenever you have made it a point earlier in that day to have that first look, it gets your mind in the mindset of saying, let's be present. It gives you a breath of fresh air, and then you can use that throughout the whole day. And I love it. I'm a massive fan of it. So yeah, making the memory stick, vital. And I think that the first look really gives you that opportunity to do that.
Absolutely. Another thing that people worry about, and this will be the last, final point that I make about this, is that you're still going to have your moment when you're walking down the aisle. A lot of people say, I don't want to take away from that. That's the moment I've been waiting for since I was a kid. Here's the thing. you're still going to have that. This is just giving you an opportunity to have an extra moment.
Yeah.
Because nothing can change or take away that moment of walking down the aisle and like, oh my gosh, I'm getting married right now. This is happening. Yeah. You're still going to be in that moment. It's a very reverent like frame of mind. And this is just giving you an opportunity to have a separate, equally special moment of the two of you together. So I just don't want people to worry that it's going to take away from that, or that they're not going to have a specialness to it anymore.
Absolutely. It's a whole other thing. These are two different events. Seeing one another for the first time is not something, I don't know. This is a hard thing because we talk to a lot of brides and we sit down with people, we sit down with couples, and we have these like consulting meetings to figure out if it's a good fit for us to be a vendor. And then we also sit down with a lot of people and just help them plan their wedding, do more of a wedding planner side. And the con that's always expressed when they're deciding to do a first look or not is saying, I don't want to take away from that moment. I don't want to take away from being reverent and traditional in that way. And it's always those words. The words always come up, I want a traditional wedding. I want to be more traditional in that way. And I respect that. Mm-hmm. And we always work with that. And we always work around that.
Traditional ceremony, you and I did.
We did too, yeah.
The only difference was that we saw each other beforehand and got those pictures done, which I wasn't thinking about it when I was walking down the aisle. I wasn't thinking like, oh, I'm so glad that right after this we get to go into the reception.
Were you thinking about, and hey, I can answer this question. When you were walking down that aisle, were you thinking he's already seen me? Like, I mean, this is not as special?
No, I was thinking like, here we go.
Here we go. Did you feel more prepared?
I don't know how to answer that. More prepared to get married?
No, like, I mean, there has to be a certain amount of nervousness, right? That's there. I mean, did you feel like, okay, I can focus more on this moment because we've had a moment of him seeing me already.
Those jitters out, kind of.
Yeah.
I guess I was surprised at how nervous I was still.
Yeah, I was like, I could not stay still.
I was nervous about walking. You know,
Didn't want to fall.
I'm not a tripper. I don't trip. Sometimes I trip. But, I mean, I was just thinking, okay, hold Dad's arm, hold flowers, don't look dumb, like, walk.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. There's John. Oh, my goodness. He sees me. Oh, my goodness. Shoom.
Yeah, tunnel vision.
It was cool. Because we walked down to that song. It's been one of my favorite songs since I was, like, in high school or whatever. And it was Dream by Priscilla On. And it just puts you in this, like, dreamlike state. And it was amazing. And I could smell the evergreen around me, and I could see the cool lights. And here I am with all these people who love us.
Yeah.
And all these people who want to be with us. And I just felt this love in this room and this, like, moment together.
Yeah. And I feel like, you know, if we would have not had a first look, I feel like it would have been equally as reverent and in the moment as that. So I think either way, I don't think that you take away anything from your wedding if you do have a first look. I don't think it makes it any less special.
No, I think it enhances.
I think it does too. And I think that I believe that exactly what you're saying. I think it makes it more special because you're able to focus even more
have
on that
another moment.
Yeah, have another one. Get 2 for 1, man. Cash it all. Cash that in. This has been great. I really love talking about weddings. This is our first podcast on talking about weddings on the Ag Natural podcast with John and Courtney. And I really look forward to having more of podcast on.
I just love that we can start talking about Black Wedding Journal a little bit because there's so much that we're working on with the Black Wedding Journal, and it's such an exciting service to offer brides. That's just one of those things where it was like, I want to do this. I want to give brides more value. And so it's a blog that we've been working on for a little bit, and there's some really good points on there and some good guides. And if you want to read more, I guess, about why to have a first look, we have an article on there that you can check out at blackweddingjournal.com. But so I think that wraps up today about why you should have a first look, and just consider it, with your fiance.
Yeah.
And if you're not engaged, or you're already married, or this does not apply to you, maybe you learned a little bit about wedding life, right?
Absolutely. And if you want to know more, go to theBlackWeddingJournal.com. On there, we're going to have a lot of guides to plan a stress-free wedding. And I'm excited. I love weddings. We've been in weddings for so long. It's been
It's my
10
happy
years for me.
place.
Yeah, I feel very comfortable talking about it, and I can't wait to talk more about it and, do more of these types of breakdown of podcasts on how to plan a stress-free wedding.
Very cool. All right. Well, we will see you guys next time.
Bye.